If you saw my Waffle Flower sneak peek kit video, you know that February's release includes some super cute Easter items. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. In today's video, I'll be sharing some more of their latest supplies to make some Easter cards from cute to elegant. Let's take a look at the new Waffle Flower items that I'll be using today. Here are some of the items that people who subscribe to the sneak peek kit already received before the release. They received the layered bow stencil and they received the bunny ears die, among other things. This is the woven platter foil plate and the jumbo checker stencil, and they work either separately or together. This is the fancy egg die, which you can see cuts out a ton of detail and is gorgeous. There's also the Happy Easter Duo foil plate. So there's a script Happy Easter and a chunky letter Happy Easter. There are also dies to cut those out. There's a stamp set available, but I have the dies and the foil plates today. Now let's use those supplies to make some cute and some elegant Easter cards. So I like to do all the foiling first. So I have my Glimmer hot foil system all heated up, and I am putting the foil plates, both Happy Easters, on that foil plate, and then I'm going to pull the platform out. I have a piece of foil taped down with the silver side facing the cardstock with some Pixie tape taped down so that it stays in place. And check out that Happy Easter in 2 different fonts. I absolutely love that. I also did it in gold as well as a whole bunch of other foil colors that you'll see later. So here's the woven foil plate. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take an entire A2 piece of white hammermill cardstock, and I have a piece of foil taped along the back at the top and the bottom that holds it in place so that you can get a great foiled look. Now I'm going to hold the dies in place around the Happy Easters that I foiled and cut all those out. And you can see how beautiful those are and how nice they look when they're die cut like that. So check out how many woven foil plates I created. So many colors. I just love these. Now this is not just for Easter. That background you could use for anything. But I also cut out a bunch of Happy Easter sentiments. This is that fancy egg die. I cut it out of some Spellbinders mirror cardstock. That's why it's gold on the front and the back, because that mirror cardstock is double-sided. And I'm going to use a little liquid adhesive to adhere it down to pink and then fussy cut around the edge. I cut out the script Happy Easter dies out of white fun foam, and I put liquid adhesive on top of the fun foam. This way I can lay that Happy Easter on top that's foiled and die cut, and it will pop off the background without having to cut up little tiny pieces of foam tape. So I'm going to do the same thing. Once that's dry, I'm going to put some liquid adhesive on the back of the white fun foam and then adhere it down to that foiled background. And I popped up the fancy egg die on a couple of pieces of foam tape. So lots of foil on this, just a really pretty but very easy to put together card. For that jumbo checker stencil, I am going to adhere a piece of white cardstock with the foiled background already put on it. And I'm going to adhere it down to the back with Pixie tape, and to the front, I'm going to adhere it down to my glass mat also with Pixie tape. I'm using some of the Waffle Flower shader brushes. You all know that I love these shader brushes, especially if you want to do multicolor inking over stencils. So you can see the shader brush is large enough to fill in that square of the jumbo checker stencil, but small enough that it only fills in the square that you want. It doesn't get everywhere else. So this is a great way to add lots of multicolor inking to that background. If you get a little ink on top of the foil, just brush it away with a dry cloth or a tissue or something like that, and you'll see that foil shine through. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do the other squares as well. So you'll see later in the video where I'll just do one set of squares. I like both of these. This was fun because I tried to pick a bunch of different Easter colors, like a bright yellow and a light blue and a lilac, cracked pistachio for that green color. So it's just a ton of different Easter colors on that background, and then the foiling still shines through. I did cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4 so I could mat it on some lilac cardstock. And now I'm also going to use those Easter bunny ears dies. Those are so cute and so much fun to play with. So you get this little headband with the ears on it, and I am going to pop that up on some fun foam as well. So I cut it out of white fun foam and then I cut it out of white cardstock. This way everything looks like cardstock on the front and it's not just the foam hanging out. I'm going to cut the little centers of the ears out of pink, and then you have that little folded ear that you can put on the right hand side. And then I have the Happy Easter in gold foil, and I pop that up on fun foam as well. So fun foam is the word of the day today, and I will be using it all day. I decided I wanted a little something special on those bunny ears this time. Of course, I should have done this before I put it all together, but I added a little liquid glue to the bunny ears and then poured some unicorn dust fine glitter from Simon Says Stamp on top, and I just think they look so cute with that kind of sugary iridescent glitter look to them. For this card, I'm going to use the A2 Lacy Layers dies from Waffle Flower. This is an older die set, but it is one of my favorites because it cuts out a stitched rectangle and a stitched scalloped rectangle that you can layer on top of each other, and there are several sizes included. I cut out the fancy egg die and I put it on some light blue cardstock, and I cut around the edge with some Simon Says Stamp scissors. Now I'm using Memory Runner XL to adhere everything together. So I have this scallop white background adhered to the light blue cardstock, and then that foiled background adhered on top of that. And that foil, that light blue, is from the Spellbinders Variety Pack, which I absolutely love. It's like a pastel look to it, less of a shiny metallic foil and more of a shiny pastel look or a pearlescent look. And this is, again, just a really easy card to put together with some layers and die cutting. For this card, I'm going to use another one of my favorite die sets from Waffle Flower, and that's the Designer Template 1 set. So it has all these basic shapes like a scallop and a flag and just all these things that make it really easy to put together layers and make the card still look special even though you're just die cutting and gluing it together. So I do have one of the foiled backgrounds, and then of course I have one of the foiled sentiments, but the rest of it is just some die cut cardstock. I did take the little teeny tiny layered bow from that bunny ears die, and I cut out 2 different colors of pink cardstock, and then I'm going to put 2 tiny little pieces of foam tape behind it and pop it up just because I felt like that bottom of the card needed a little something special. But again, just once you got all the foiling done, just some die cutting and adhering things together, nice, fun Easter cards. Okay, let's use the layered bows die. I used it a couple of times in the sneak peek kit video, but I wanted to use it today. So there's a line on the inside of the stencil that shows you where you can line up an A2 piece of cardstock. And I have that A2 piece of cardstock with the foiled background on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is use a large Waffle Flower blending brush, since I'm using only one color here on this layer. And I'm going to put some Distress Oxide spun sugar over this layer of the bows. Once that's done, you peel off that layer, and then you're ready to adhere the second layer down. And this time I'm going to use saltwater taffy. I'm still using one of those large blender brushes, and that just makes it really easy to quickly cover up the entire stencil. I decided to use a little bit of abandoned coral and one of the shader brushes to just add a slightly darker look to the polka dots. This way we actually have 3 colors on these bows and the dots for the stencil. And once you pull that off, you can see how the 2 layers together create these adorable bows. I'm going to trim this panel down to 4 by 5 1/4, use some Memory Runner XL to adhere it down to some coordinating cardstock, and then I am going to use the fun foam again. So I have that blue or teal foiled Happy Easter on top of some fun foam in the center of that panel, and I don't think you need much more than that. Just super cute and quick and easy and clean and simple. Okay, for this card I am going to use that jumbo checker stencil once again. This time I'm only using it once. So I just added some yellow to every other square, and then I'm going to cut that down to 4 by 5 1/4, mat it on some green cardstock, and then I have the Lacy Layers die again. This time I'm just using the scallop rectangle in a smaller size, and I'm using it horizontally instead of vertically to put my Happy Easter sentiment in the middle there. For this card, I'm going to use another die set that you may already have in your stash, and that is the Waffle Flower Sprigs die. If you don't have it, they are restocking it for the spring and Easter. So I used Waffle Flower's Unicorn Half-Half Line pattern paper to cut out that Sprigs die in two different colors. It's kind of a peach coral and then that light pink. And I'm just going to layer those up on top of each other and then add my Happy Easter on some fun foam, and that is on the gold foiled woven background there. I cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4 so I could mat it on some white cardstock just to give it that clean edge. Again, really elegant, simple, and now I have a bunch of Easter cards done. These supplies were so much fun, I just couldn't stop creating cards. And so for the first time ever, I have a stash of Easter cards ready to go. I'd love to hear if you prefer to make cutesy cards or elegant cards, or if it really depends on who you're sending it to. Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't checked out that sneak peek video I was talking about yet, you need to hear about their new sneak peek club kit, and I will link to that video over here. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. I just clapped. We don't need to clap. There's no clapping today. Okay. I've got this. I've got it. One more time.